Boying Remulla. And to sponsor the measure, may we recognize the distinguished gentleman from Aurora, the Honorable Senator Sani Angara, and to interpolate the distinguished lady from Makati City, Senator Isabella, Mr. President, Senator Nancy Binay. So moved, Mr. President.
Consideration of the budget of the Department of Justice and its attached agencies is now in order for today's interpellation. The Chair would like to recognize Senator Sani Angara, the Chair of the Committee on Finance, and likewise to interpolate Senator Nancy Binay.
Thank you once more, Mr. President, Majority Leader. We're ready to accept questions from our seatmate from Isabela, Makati, Taguig, and other places.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just an update, Mr. President, kasi during the committee hearing, we raised the issue on the fake passport. I think meron ho atang nahuli yung Bureau of Immigration na Koreano na may hawak. Well, actually, hindi siya fake passport kasi totoong Philippine passport siya. Can we just get an update with the NBI kung ano na po yung status ng kaso?
Yes, Your Honor. You raised this repeatedly during both the committee and plenary debates. And the NBI has tasked its anti-fraud division to handle this issue, this proliferation of fake passports or fraudulently acquired passports. And they would submit an investigation report to us on this once the investigation is completed. And there is an NBI International Operations Division who will handle identified spurious passports issued to foreigners, and will coordinate with DFA on this, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you to the distinguished lady from Makati, Isabela, and Taguig. Next to interpolate, Mr. President, is the distinguished minority leader, our minority leader, Senator Coco Pimentel. I move that he be recognized.
Our minority leader, Senator Coco Pimentel, is recognized.
Just for the record, Mr. President, and before the minority leader asks his questions, the total budget for the DOJ and attached agencies is 35,455,517,000 pesos. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, welcome to the Justice family. You all play a very critical role in the harmonious existence of our society, Mr. President. That's why ang budget po nila is one of the largest, 35.4 billion. But that's across the entire DOJ family, Mr. President. Before we start, Mr. President, this will be a friendly interpellation, Mr. President, but I'd like to ask the Secretary how he feels today. Secretary, are we okay to continue? You're okay?
He looks
Yes, we wish you all the
fit
best.
as a fiddle,
Yes, okay.
Mr. President.
Sige. Secretary, when you gave your inaugural address as a Secretary of Justice, I still remember you mentioned three areas of focus mo. If you can just update us, sabi mo you will focus on the Bucor, immigration, and the Land Registration Authority. So, after more than a year in office, can we have siguro a report, an update on what the Department of Justice has done as far as reforms are concerned in these three agencies or areas, Mr. President?
Mr. President, there's a number of questions there. But with respect to the Bucor, the Secretary has prioritized yung decongestion given the congestion of our jails and penal institutions. So every month, nagre-release po sila. And he's also being strategic in how they decongest, meaning I think Bilibid is looking at how to decongest it, and also he's transferred people from Bilibid to Sablayan and other penal institutions, so that also yung sinasabing naririnig natin dati na nagkakakuntsabahan yung mga ibang crime lords within the penal institutions, that will be minimized or eviscerated or eliminated, Your Honor. Tapos pagdating naman ho sa LRA, yung computerization and digitalization is being prioritized to facilitate ease of doing business with the public, Your Honor. And the third institution was the Bureau of Immigration. Here, the Secretary is looking to cut down the avenues for possible graft and corruption and promote greater efficiency in the performance of duties of the Bureau, Your Honor.
No specifics as far as immigration is concerned.
If you remember the Pastillas scam, they deactivated that division who was responsible for this port operation division, Your Honor. So
Deactivated.
Opo.
Yes, that was the cause championed by our Deputy
That's right.
Minority Leader, Senator Risa Ontiveros. Okay, tapos yung mga escort, ini-escortan, wala na po siguro yan. Mga ganun. Sige po. Okay, so Mr. President, yung LRA computerization, I'm just surprised if that is the answer. Meaning to say, all these years, hindi pa po nag-adapt ng computerization program ang LRA natin. Yung 6.3 CO nila, saan pupunta?
When was that contract? And it's how long?
So 5.8 increase. Increase actually hindi. Compare sa last year. Magkano yung last year? Sabihin na natin magkano yung the year before, 2 years ago. Para makita natin.
Your Honor, there is a service provider called Dilares, which is the service provider. Then the LRA has had a contract with it since 2004, which was renewed in 2009, valid up to this day. But according to the Secretary, there are a lot of this contract is quite problematic. They view it as quite problematic, and they're trying to reform it so that to make it easier to conduct business with the public and to make it to have better security features, Your Honor.
The contract with Lares po ba? Lares?
Opo,
Does that have a lifespan?
Until 2026, Your Honor.
Okay. Meron kasi tayo, I'll ask a question about our ICT program nga, 5.8 billion pesos ito eh, across the family, across the DOJ family. So, magkano dun ng sa LRA, Mr. President? LRA, yes.
What do you mean figure? Fatima?
Total lang, kahit yung total lang po sa related with ICT. Tama.
It's 469 million, Your
Correct, that's 469 million, Mr. President. LRA.
Yes.
So,
it's,
and then you still have the Lares. Will the 469 all go to the service contractor Lares? Is this to pay Lares?
magkano yung kay Lares? Pero magkano yung pupunta daw kay Lares? And none of this goes to they're collecting an on. Pero in your 2024 budget, how much goes to Pilares? Yeah, I have it. Pero ang tanong niyo
Wala, nothing goes to Lares. They're already earning. From the fees.
so they don't have any budgetary allocation. Apparently, Lares is already earning from the fees, Your Honor, because that's the stipulation of the contract. So this budgetary allocation that we were talking about is to create a backup system in case they decide to, to novate or maybe do something with the contract, Your Honor.
By 2026.
Yes, Your Honor.
By 2026, we can do anything with the contract. We can choose not to extend it. We can choose not to renew it. Walang mga obligation.
I think that is the import of these appropriations, Your Honor, is to prepare us for or to make us less dependent on that service provider, Your Honor. Yeah, there is a somewhat of a dispute regarding the ownership of the data, Your Honor.
That's it. That's my point, Mr. President. Kino-compare ko to sa problema doon sa LTFRB. LTFRB. Kaya nga, ba't di natututo gobyerno, Mr. President? Why does the DOJ find itself similarly situated with another government agency na LTO? Na I'm sure pinag-uusapan siguro sa gobyerno 'yon. Which came earlier? Which contract came earlier? The LTO contract with Stratcom or the LRA contract with Lares?
They were almost the same time, Your Honor, because according to the Secretary, they're quite similar. Same controlling interest, apparently.
Between the two companies? Oh, yan ang Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, yan sinasabi ko, we need to pierce some corporate veils eh. Sa pasok naman tayo sa pinag-usapan natin sa blacklisting ng DPWH. But hindi, as a concept lang yun. Ganun, but now, but at any rate, Solares earns from user fees and magkano po to? More or less, what's our estimate? And who are the users paying for the system?
So every time you get a title, ganon, yes, Lares gets every time you... Magkano daw? Sample transaction. Actually, for every transaction, Your Honor, under that contract, may singil po yung Lares. Per page nga daw, yung singil.
Hingi ng certified true copy, mga ganon?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Issuance
Happy birthday to our colleague, Senator
yes,
Amy Marcos.
Mr. President.
I see her in front of me.
Yes,
I didn't get to greet her yesterday,
Can we ask for a minute
Mr.
suspension
President.
to greet our colleague?
Yes, we'll have a minute suspension to greet our colleague, Senator Amy Marcos. Happy birthday.
Okay, Mr. President, for my education, two government agencies entered into contracts with two different companies. The claim now is that the controlling interest or beneficial interest may only be one, no? In the two companies. What agency reviews the contracts entered into by government agencies?
It's the NEDA ICC, Your Honor.
NEDA ICC looks at the economic aspect yata, but the terms of the contract,
yung legal.
di ba, wala ba tayong ahensya ng gobyerno na nag-a-advise sa terms ng kontrata?
The PPP Center with
PPP
reference
Center.
to these contracts, Your Honor.
Okay.
And I was also informed yung nabanggit na controlling interest parang na-unload na yata. So, if
Umiba
there
na.
was a convergence of controlling interest initially, parang nabenta na ho yata ngayon.
Yes. Okay. Kasi how come the ownership of the data generated from the use of the system ba't di na-anticipate ng government agencies yan, Mr. President, na naging gray area pa yun? Hindi ba dapat klarong-klaro yun? That should belong to the government. And if the contract should be not that clear, someone in the government should have pointed that out to make it clear, Mr. President. Dalawang ahensya na biktima.
Yeah, I agree with you, Your Honor. But in fact, it's the first time this has come to my attention. But as you know, hindsight is always 2020, and perhaps information was not the valuable commodity it is now when the contracts were signed in 2004 and 2009. The world has changed a lot since then. And now, of course, you would not enter into these contracts anymore, knowing how valuable the information or the potentials for not only generating income, but also for maybe for protecting privacy rights, etc. All of these are clear to us now, but maybe back then was not the case, Your Honor. So.
Maybe, Mr. President, but I remember that I think there has been a book written before year 2000 that information is power, parang gano'n. I don't know. I have not read that book, but from
Yeah.
just a random recollection, Mr. President. So, sana hindi ganyang ka-unprepared po ang gobyerno. I mean, dami-dami na resources, Mr. President. Billion-billion to pinag-uusapan natin.
Yes, Your Honor. But unfortunately, I think on this front, we've always been kind of, rather than ahead of the curve, behind the curve, because we only passed the DICT 20, I think. Hi. Good morning to our Senate President Mig Zubiri. I think we only passed the DICT after many tries. I think we were here, Your Honor, during your second term, my first term. So we should have done that much earlier than these issues regarding information, privacy, maybe regulating contracts pertaining to information held by the government, which is better held in a sovereign capacity rather than in a proprietary capacity. These issues could have been threshed out earlier, and we would be in control of the discussion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the 400 plus million being given to the LRA for their ICT projects is now being used to prepare the LRA for its computerization programs, anticipating the end of the Lares era, Mr. President? Is that it?
Yes, Your Honor.
But multi-year program ito? I mean, do we expect to see this multi-million peso appropriations for LRA connected with its ICT project, Mr. President? In-house ICT. Is this going to be an in-house ICT project?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
So, ano pong let us say, at the end of the, it's a multi-year program, how many years? At the end of the program, how much cost will it have cost us, Mr. President? Win. Kasal?
And what do you expect to see? The data infrastructure to safeguard. The aim is to create the data infrastructure to safeguard and protect the information, Your Honor. And the approximate cost is about 1.6 to 1.7 billion over 3 years, spread out over 3 years.
Hindi, complete na po ito. Complete na. It's including the the stakeholders using the system. Yun kasama na po 'yon.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, sige, okay. Hindi ko alam yung terms kasi. Ano yung terms, ano yung nakikita sa screen.
Pareho tayo.
Describe ko lang basta complete system. Even after the Lares contract, should LRA decide not to extend it, it will have its own in-house computerized system. It's a well-funded one. It functions. The public can transact with the LRA and expect that the data will be safeguarded and also up-to-date and available. So, ganun po yun, Mr. President.
Tama po yun.
Okay,
Tama
sige
po
po.
yun.
5.8 billion pesos kasi itong ating appropriation for ICT. The biggest recipient would be the NBI, 1.9 billion. So may we know what are the plans? Immigration pa pala, 2.6 billion din of the amounts, Mr. President. So may we know from the two agencies how do they plan to use these amounts, and what are the benefits that the people will expect from transacting with the two agencies, Mr. President, because of the ICT programs? NBI and the BID, Mr. President.
What are the KPIs of those expenditures? It doesn't say anything. It's just an itemized. It doesn't say. It's asking for the end. What are the here, Your Honor, I've been handed a document that describes the first ICT project is the procurement of additional border control ICT equipment. And this is to modernize and improve efficiency, security, and accuracy of immigration border management systems. It involves procurement and implementation of updated IT equipment and infrastructure to enhance processing of travelers, data management, and overall border security. So the benefits here are it enhances border security, improves efficiency, data accuracy and integration, and operational continuity. The second ICT project is the border security body camera system. And the description here is to enhance transparency, accountability, and safety of immigration operations by outfitting officers with body cameras during their duties to capture audio and video recording of interactions and incidents involving secondary inspection of passengers. The benefits of this system are accountability and transparency, enhanced evidence collection, improved officer behavior, protection of the passenger's rights, quick resolution of complaints, a deterrent effect, improved public trust, and greater documentation of operations. The third ICT project is the provision of additional ICT equipment for main and the subport offices. And this is to modernize and enhance efficiency, accuracy, and security of immigration processes, to enhance processing of visas, permits, alien registration, fees assessment and collection, and generation of relevant reports. The fourth is the replacement of the network security appliance for international ports of entry and exit and other immigration offices, where it is described as it is to enhance network performance, network security infrastructure, and protection from malicious unauthorized access outside the domain of the Bureau. And the benefits are cybersecurity enhancement, network performance, data protection, operational efficiency, scalability. The fifth is the procurement of additional antivirus software and license. This is to strengthen the protection of endpoint devices, including computers, laptops, and other devices against cyber threat and malware. So basically a cybersecurity device or project, Your Honor. The sixth is the expansion of immigration active directory services for international ports of entry and exit to enhance scalability and efficiency and security of active directory services, which is responsible for managing and organizing information about network resources. The seventh is the procurement of the network monitoring system for the airport. This is to enhance the efficiency, security, and reliability of network operations. It involves the acquisition and implementation of a comprehensive network monitoring system to ensure seamless network performance and to detect and respond to issues in real time during the airport operations. The eighth is the cybersecurity tool to fortify the defenses of the BI by acquiring, implementing, and optimizing a range of cybersecurity tools and services to safeguard data, network infrastructure, and digital assets from evolving cyber threats and vulnerabilities. This is in the main office and the field offices. There's a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 more, Your Honor.
Sige pa. No,
Expansion of cloud storage. If I just go through them quickly with your permission.
yes, deal.
A replacement of backbone of fiber optic cable, the supply, delivery, testing of CCT cameras, expansion of e-gates, satellite internet subscription for IPEE, BCS, and expanded program for alien typing system project, renewal of network security software licenses and support. I'll be happy to furnish his representation with this, Your Honor.
Siguro,
That's for BI, Your Honor.
That's for the BID. Sige, before we go to the NBI, so BID, so yan yung kanyang
Bigyan mo ng ganun sa...
2.6 billion pesos po ang suma total noon ng mga nabanggit niya po. More or less, tama po.
Yes, Your Honor. 2.67.
Siguro, ang tanong na lang natin siguro from the BID. Sige, pagkatapos niyo pong gastusin yung 2.67 billion pesos na yon, ano po ang improvements na makikita natin at mararamdaman ng taong bayan, Mr. President?
Well, greater security, greater accuracy of the data, greater continuity going forward. I mean, adjustment to different systems, etc. Greater accountability and transparency, enhanced evidence collection, better behavior from the officers, and greater protection of the passenger rights, quicker resolution of any complaints, greater efficiency and speed, greater data accuracy, enhancement of cybersecurity, risk mitigation, compliance with licenses, performance optimization, scalability, data security. These are some of the benefits of all of these programs, Your Honor.
Mababawasan yung mahabang pagtatanong ng mga babiyahe?
Palagay ko po. At saka yung kung
May we know why?
greater
Paano?
efficiency.
How this amount will contribute to...
Kasi may expansion of the e-gates ho eh. Yun yung nakikita siguro natin pag nagbiyahe tayo sa... I
Sa ibang
remember
bansa.
recently on our travels, Your Honor, wala nang minsan wala nang actual contact in some instances. There's no more contact with a live officer or a real person, Your Honor. So, lalagay mo na lang yung passport mo. I assume that's what the e-gate refers to, Your Honor.
Di ba pagpasok yun? Pagpasok ng bansa. Ang problema yata ng ating mga kababayan paglabas ng bansa, yung iniisip nila na parang harassment lang na pagtatanong, Mr. President. Makakatulong ba itong 2.6 billion pesos na ibubuhos ng BID sa ICT na mababawasan po yung ganong parang ritual na dinadaanan ng mga bumabiyahe? Na kababayan natin, palabas
Yes.
ng bansa.
Hopefully, Mr. President, kasi yung e-gates, I've been informed, is for going both in and out of the country.
So, baka mas masakit kasi kung hindi ka payagang gamitin ng e-gates, ibig sabihin nun, na-profile ka, Mr. President. Kahit may e-gates, Mr. President, no, there will be people who will be allowed a contactless exit, pero some will still go through the BID personnel, Mr. President.
Well, siguro ganun na.
Ganun
Kasi
po, ganun po.
any system has to have some kind of catch basin or...
Can we ask the BID
or-
what's the plan on the e-gates? Kasi I hope klaro na sa kanila ano ba itong e-gates na to.
Put that chair here. Anong plano natin? Hindi, pero ito numbers lang. Ang tanong niya is, anong plano? How will you make it easier for yung papahirapan mo yung mga kababayan natin? Palabas, gano'n.
Nakita lang tayo sa tatlo niya sa computerization.
Yeah. The e-gates is really meant to limit the contact with officers, Your Honor. Meaning they have a, what do you call it? Advanced passenger information system. So, bago pa lang pumunta yung pasahero sa airport, more or less may information na yung bureau. Opo. So, pagdating doon, alam na nila sino yung, more or less, sino yung kailangan bantayan, Your Honor. And that, in a sense, I guess it minimizes the person-to-person contact and discretion, Your Honor.
Yeah, I know we need to balance this system with our desire to provide our kababayans with less hassle in going out of the country with our concern for human trafficking and illegal recruitment. I-balance po natin, pero siguro naman yung yung hindi masyadong mayaman na kababayan natin na nakapag-ipon, na gusto naman magbiyahe, resulta ng pag-iipon, o may kamag-anak na nag-ipon for them, na bisitahin sila sa ibang lugar. We should understand na merong ganong sitwasyon. It's not all a desire to work outside of the country and evade DMW regulations, Mr. President.
We agree with you, Your Honor.
Ibalanse
We agree
lang
with
po
you.
natin kasi
There is a right to travel under the
Yes,
Constitution, Your Honor. Yes.
tsaka yung mga, I'm sure middle class and above lang yung kayang mag-pre-register po dyan sa ating sistema. Let's make sure na hindi ganun, if possible, Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor. I think the BI understands. You articulated it very well na dapat hindi yung technology is meant to improve our lives, not to kind of set a boundary between those who can access and those who cannot.
And also some attitudinal change, Mr. President. Di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ayun.
Yes, Your Honor.
You know what I mean, okay?
Yes, yes.
Ito pong body cameras, are we patterning this with the police body cameras? Hindi ko.
MMDA, similar to what the
Hindi ko.
MMDA.
I'm not so familiar with what the MMDA is doing. Tingnan na lang natin if
May live stream ho yun, kung sakali. Kung may camera, tapos may live stream din ho.
because the BID personnel are wearing the vest or the body cameras within the premises, or because they're in operations outside in the field.
May camera sila. They're at the airport, Your Honor. They will be wearing the cameras. And that can be accessed randomly or...
Why not put CCTV cameras?
Meron din po. Meron din po.
So why the redundancy?
It's necessary, apparently, in this case.
How
Your Honor.
much for the body cameras? Doon nga ako nagdududa, sir, kung baka, alam mo, sometimes, parang sa Comelec ba, napansin ko yung mga makinang ipoprocure natin, ang dami-dami namang features, hindi namang magagamit yung ibang features doon, pero dagdag gastos yun.
It's 203 million, Your Honor, for the...
For 1 year.
For the
Pero
body
of course,
camera.
it's a multi-year na siguro. Because that will, yung body cameras natin na bibilin will provide only an X number of personnel. The next year, another number. Ganun po ba ang plano? Isabel?
Lahat na daw ho to. Lahat,
So,
lahat na daw.
Lahat na nung nakaplanong bigyan. So 203 million pesos, Mr. President. Sige. Tingnan natin if... kasi sa United States, Mr. President, diyan tayo kumukopya dito sa body camera. I-raise din natin dito sa police natin. Alam mo, they made it a crime to turn off the video, to mute the camera. So, of course, lalo na siguro kung galawin pa yung whatever is saved there, the data that is saved. They made it a crime. Okay, so burden bali yan sa mga officers, sa police officers nila wearing the body camera. So I hope those proposing body cameras are ready for such a regime, Mr. President. Kasi hindi naman to joke lang. Gagastos tayo ng 200
That's
million
true.
tapos
Yes.
i-off lang nila, i-mute nila. What's the point, Mr. President?
Yes, Your Honor, you have a good point there. Because you don't want to negate the investment you made.
Apo. Ang police will appear before us on Friday.
Sa Friday po.
Yes, apo.
Yung pahanda.
So, the NBI, Mr. President, 1.9 billion pesos for their ICT. Okay, ito. Siguro sa NBI, mas yung general public yata deals more with the NBI compared to the BID. So, once this amount is spent, okay, for the ICT, ano pong improvement ang mararamdaman ng mga taong bayan transacting with the NBI?
Faster processing time for the clearances, Your Honor. Kasi this CPIS, or Clearance Processing and Issuance System, is designed to process clearance certificates and is the central repository of information. It captures the applicant's personal information, biometric data, face images. It also checks the criminal records. So, yun po ang
Sige pa.
goal, yung talagang mas mabilis po yung pag-issue
Hindi pa ba kaya yan ngayon, Mr. President? At saka, let me inform the NBI Director, wala nga ako nare-receive na reklamo na mabagal ang system ninyo. Efficient na ang system ninyo. You want it more efficient to to the tune of 1.8 billion pesos, Mr. President?
Kulang pa daw ho, actually. Kulang pa daw.
Kulang in the sense na the accessibility
I
of the
think what
system?
their aim after improving the efficiency, Your Honor, is to make it more accessible dahil sabi nila, they're greatly Manila-based at present. So, maganda kung merong data center in Cebu and other populated areas and regions, Your Honor.
So the efficiency that the residents of Metro Manila feel when they transact with the NBI, gusto na natin is-spread to the rest of the country.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Actually, Director, positive ang feedback sa inyo. Walang reklamo na mabagal. So,
You're the father of the NBI, the new
Congratulations
modern
for that,
NBI, Your Honor. You are the father,
of the
being the
modern-
author of the NBI modernization law.
I hope my children are behaving. I think sa NBI also, the NBI is there, Mr. President. So, okay, we're continuing with other fund naman to on the CO. We're continuing with our main headquarters,
Tuloy po yun, Your Honor.
589 million for next year. Magkano ang finand natin for this year?
This year ang tanong niya.
For this year, para mag
2023.
500 din yata, no? For this year, kung tama.
450? Hindi, kasama rin yan. There's 450 million in this year to. 2023 GAA, there's 450 million for the construction.
Na-release mo lahat yon, Director? 450 million?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and then we'll appropriate another 589 million for next year. What's the total cost of your main headquarters complex, Mr. Director?
The total is 2.4, Your Honor.
Okay, so mga ngalahati na by next year, Mr. President. Malaki pala ito. Talagang modern po ito. This is the modern NBI.
Envisioned in your law, Your Honor.
Congratulations to the NBI. So, Mr. President, so yun po yun. No? That's why I'm pointing this out. Malaki-laki po yung ating ICT budget for the DOJ family, 5.6. Now, on another topic, Mr. President, doon muna tayo sa sinabi po ni Secretary on his top 3 priorities. So, on the decongestion, you have been transferring prisoners. How is the choice being made in the transfer of prisoners? Do we consider whether or not they have family in their destination who can in the area of their destination who can visit them? Is that a factor or not a factor?
Under the concept of regionalization, Your Honor, they consider what region you come from. So they will put you in a institution within your region. They will prioritize the region you're from, Your Honor.
So, did you also transfer some foreigners?
Yung heinous crime violators, yes, Your Honor, the answer to your question. And the heinous crime violators are in Mindoro, Your Honor. In
So you're
Sablayan.
concentrating them in one prison. What is that prison?
Sablayan, Your Honor, in Mindoro Occidental. Occidental. Mindoro Occidental, Your Honor.
Okay, I looked at the budget, Mr. President. Sa Bucor, nakikita ko 2 units of 2-story dormitory in Davao Prison and Penal Farm, 200 million. 2-story dormitory at Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm, 272 million. So, yung Mindoro, you're not requesting for any capital outlay to improve Mindoro. Okay siya?
They have an ongoing 400 million project in Mindoro, Your Honor,
From this year's budget?
from previous years, I think.
Previous year's budget, okay. Sige po. When you say, when you use the term dormitory, are these the cells, the rooms of the prisoners? For the
Yes.
prisoners ito, for the
Yes.
prisoners, not
Oh.
for our
Prisoners.
employees. Okay.
Opo.
So it looks like we have been slowly improving our how do you call this, General? Anong tawag ba sa kanila? Di pa natin to pwedeng tawagin regional prisons yata eh.
Sa
Is-
persons deprived of liberty.
No. The areas like Davao Prison, Iway Prison.
Regional prisons.
We already call them our regional prison. How many regional prisons do we have, Bale?
Now we only have about 5 in
Iwahig is but we have Palawan, di ba? Davao.
There are 2 in Metro Manila, Your Honor, and there are 5 outside.
Oo nga. Yes, we have in Tacloban, Davao, Palawan, Mindoro, Occidental, and
Zamboanga. Your
may
Honor.
Zamboanga. Okay. So thank you for that. So yung 5 outside of Metro Manila, we have been slowly over the years improving them.
Yes, Your Honor.
So wala po tayong nakakaligtaan sa General. Ha? So nag-account, nag-inventaryo lang po ako na even Zamboanga, we have some recent projects there.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, meron na ba tayo regionalization law? Prison. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. President. No, I'm not aware of any law authorizing the or establishing regional prisons. Pero itong na-mention na natin, siyempre, they have their own legal basis in establishing them. Can I just, yes?
There is, I've been informed there's Republic Act 10575, which deals with the
10.5.
regionalization, Your Honor.
That's the regionalization na. Okay, what was the power, did the law determine the location of the regional prisons? Or that was left for an entity to determine?
Yeah, it requires all regions to have an institution, actually. But of course, our resources are,
Yes, yun na. But
it is an aspiration for the future, Your Honor.
you mentioned 7, we have 7 prisons na.
Yeah, 2 in Metro Manila, Your Honor.
Yes, 2 in Metro Manila. Yung 5
5,
outside of Metro Manila, bali compliant na yung 5 regions na yon with that law. We will consider the prison existing in the region as the regional prison in our planning in how we will implement the law.
Yeah, the 5 are compliant, Your Honor, but but the goal is really to have
Yes,
them in
yes.
all the regions, Your Honor.
I think there are 18, no? How is the country divided into regions? 18? 18 ba? So
18 including BARM, Your Honor.
yes, 18 include. Let's just read the law na ganun ang meaning ng law, no? So 18. So the goal is 18, yeah? Para ma-picture natin, nasa 5 pa lang tayo. We're not counting the 2 in Metro Manila.
Opo.
Is Metro Manila under the law as
NCR.
how you interpret it, Secretary and the General, is that entitled also to 1 regional prison?
Yun ang bilibid na ho yun. Yun yung national bilibid.
So
prison.
the Bilibid in Muntinlupa will not be transferred.
Eventually, they're looking at closing it down. I think that's been studied across. I think,
Mr. President, nakatingin lang ako how
Yes,
long-term
yes.
ba? Long-term.
yes, Your Honor. Yes.
From the implementers of the law, yung
Apo.
mga expert. Ayan, Apo. Sa implementers of the law, so let's assume our reading now, let's assume na lang na tama yung reading natin. The mandate of the law is regional prisons in each region. We have 18 regions. At the end of the program, dapat we are counting 18 regional prisons, including 1 in Metro Manila.
Yes, Your Honor.
So there should be 1 in Metro Manila. That's a...
right now we are really having a problem in the new Bilibid kasi ano na po siya.
Close down daw. So okay, so that's our reading, Mr. President. So malayo pa tayo. So at least 5 we can say that yung 5 of the 18, no? Do we have 2 prisons in Metro Manila? Do we intend one of them to be that prison complying with the law, that there should be 1 in Metro Manila? 1 regional prison in Metro
Well,
Manila?
it's a little more complicated, Your Honor, because although the law requires each region to have one, and of course NCR is a region, but the Bilibid has become less than ideal. So in their opinion, it should be phased out.
And then, okay, in due time, no?
In due time,
medyo
yes,
long-term
yes.
planning lang po tayo. Parang,
Yes.
so, when the Muntinlupa facility is now closed down, what is the plan? How will the real property be put to good use? Who owns it in the first place?
Bucor.
Bucor owns it.
Opo.
Okay. So, what's the long-term plan, Mr. President? With that, I believe that should already be prime property now. Before, ano ba siya? Before, parang palahiban lang siya.
Well, if the Secretary would have his way, it would be a government center, Your Honor.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. President, your good kuya wants to
With
The
the
President is
permission
recognized.
of, thank you, Mr. President. With the permission of the Minority Floor Leader, where do you plan to transfer the Bilibid, Your Honor?
I think they're
If,
looking at different institutions because nga under the regionalization to decongest Bilibid.
Do you plan
You
to
create,
transfer it outside of Metro Manila?
Yes, Your Honor.
Probably where?
Merong Laguna.
Have you made
they're looking
negotiations
at
outside of
Laguna.
Metro Manila?
Maybe have ideally someplace north and someplace south of Metro Manila. Your Honor.
South, like Bicol Region, Quezon,
Even Laguna, Your Honor.
Laguna? Have you made the representations with the officials there?
Wala pa po. You have government land.
Why do you
They
plan to
considered
close
it
it
because
down?
they have a lot of government land in.
Yeah, why do you plan to close the Bilibid? Ano ba ang problema?
Well, it's a highly populated area, Your Honor.
So you're going to purchase a land? You're going to purchase a land to build the structure?
The ideal would be to just use what the government already has, Your Honor.
Okay, is it bigger than the present facility?
Ideally, they would like a bigger facility, Your Honor.
How many hectares does the Bilibid have?
Bilibid is 365 hectares, Your Honor.
365 hectares. And then you're planning to transfer it to a much wider and much bigger space? More
Ideally,
than
500 is the desired space.
500 hectares? That can accommodate all prisoners?
But
You think so?
it's a maximum facility, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
gentleman from San Juan.
So, as I gathered, Mr.
Ayun.
President, sige, General, I'm assuming you're the expert sa history ng even sa land ownership dyan. The land of the New Bilibid prison was donated to the government originally.
We were formerly, the old Bilibid prison is in Manila. And then the mayor of Manila bought properties in Muntinlupa to transfer us.
The history of that, Your Honor, is that the old Bilibid was located in the city of Manila. And when transferring to the current location, these lands were bought by the then mayor of Manila. So doon nilipat po and that's the existing Bilibid facility, Your Honor.
And so originally, the title has already been issued in the name of the Bucor from the very start.
Yes, in the name of the Republic, Your Honor.
In the name of the Republic. So maybe we will learn our lesson. What happened to the land over which the old Bilibid stood in Manila? What is it now?
It's now the Manila City Jail.
Manila City, it's a jail pa rin. Okay. Huh? Yeah, but that's the jail. That's BJMP na. That's BJMP. That's BJMP jurisdiction, Mr. President. And that's where, unfortunately, Dr. Iggy Agbayani was jailed and died there. Grabe, congestion din po doon. The same problem with the Bucor, right? Ganun po yan. Okay. So, although my staff, I want to put it on record, my staff disagrees with our reading of RA 10575. we disagree with the reading that that's already the law, which is the authority on the regionalization of prisons, Mr. President. So, but at any rate, let's assume. So, yung Masungi Reserve, you own land there. In the long-term planning, you intend to use that as one of the regional prisons?
It was declared as a protected area, Your Honor, although it is in the name of Bucor. Kaya
Pwede naman kasi nag-file din siya ng bill. Pero
No, Your Honor.
na-overtaken na.
No, Your Honor.
So what is that?
Yeah.
What was that? What's the controversy over your ownership of that piece of land there in Masungi, Mr. Chairman, General? Kasi ang issue dun, you were intending to use it for what, Mr. President?
Hindi kasi ang titulo ho nasa Bucor. Eh nagmowa sila with DNR to create a geo-reserve there. It gained popularity as a reserve. Marami nag-hiking ho doon. So yun siguro. So when they had there was an anong tawag dito, trial balloon whether to transfer the facilities there. Maraming umangal ho, Your Honor.
Hindi. Yes, so hindi na itutuloy dahil maraming umangal? Whatever was the plan? For women sa Mandaluyong.
What they're now looking at is they're studying the possibility of putting up a training school for the Bucor officials there, Your Honor. Because,
Training siya, pero training school, pero nasa reserve siya.
yeah, but not an incarceration facility,
Yes,
Your Honor.
so that's very
Yeah.
clear. And what was also made clear today, this afternoon...
Maybe your consultant can consult your consultant on your questions can talk to the secretary, Your Honor, instead of feeding you questions, Your Honor.
No. There's just a dialogue going on here, Mr. President. The questions are originally mine, Mr. President.
I was born in Muntinlupa.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I'm happy to yield the mic
No,
to
the question,
our colleague from Muntinlupa, Your Honor.
But what we established
And Las Piñas.
Mr. President, ito importante yata. What we established this afternoon is the land over which the new Bilibid prison is built is not subject to a conditional donation where if the use is changed, it will now revert to the donor. Walang ganon.
Wala po.
Okay, klaro.
Wala po.
Walang ganon. Kung meron man tayong narinig na ganon, chismis yun, Mr. President.
I think that refers to maybe, I heard that about Camp Crame. Yun talaga may condition yun from the Ortigas and Aguinaldo, Your Honor. So yun definitely meron.
But there are no long-term
They
plans naman to
Yeah, but
to
we heard
change.
the government previously also toying with the idea of privatizing it, but it came to a halt because of that legality. Yung Kapitolyo.
Sige po, okay.
But if all fails, Senator Villar will fund the expansion, Your Honor.
Sige po, Mr. President. Okay, siguro, well, during the committee hearing, we raised the issue of the unfilled positions. I hope that you're just conscious of this issue. But are there vacant positions for prosecutors? Still vacant? Dapat priority natin yun. Prosecutors in the sense of chief prosecutor. Ano ba mga chief prosecutors? Provincial, ano ba? Regional, may regional, provincial.
My dear colleague, Senator Pimentel, before you move on to another topic, I just want to dwell on the topic of the Bureau of Prisons, of Supermax. The sponsor, Senator Angara,
300, yes, Mr. President, I'll just put on record
Sure,
the answer with your permission, Mr. President. There are only 305 prosecutor positions which are unfilled. Yes, Mr. President. Yeah.
yes, the reason why I wanted to interject is because that's my baby, that's my law. I'm the principal author of that law, sponsored by Senator Gordon in the last Congress, and co-authored with Senator Soto, our Senate President pro temp at the time. I was the majority leader. The idea was to to move those charged with heinous crimes, Mr. Sponsor, to a supermax facility. That way to prevent the drug lords, the syndicates from operating within the walls of Muntinlupa, even gaining strength once they enter Muntinlupa.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that, Mr. President.
Remember we had a
Yeah.
debate on that.
I was here, yes.
So so I'd like to just echo the questions of Senator Coco. What is the plan of the DOJ on that law? Is it will it be an unimplemented law, unfunded law? Because if it's an unfunded law, Secretary, nandito ka na yun. Ask for it. Di ba? Bibigay nga tayo sa Coast Guard, tsaka sa Air Force, Navy. Bakit hindi yung para sa mga kulungan ng mga balasubas at mga walang hiyang criminal na ito?
Bidding document, may existing
Do we have? Do we not have? Do you need? Do you want?
Is there
What are your plans for that law? Yun yung Supermax, Senator Coco Pimentel, our minority floor leader. Yeah.
I want to go back.
Ayun nga eh.
Kasi merong bidding. What are we bidding for? What's the amount?
That was the answer to the clamor for those who wanted the death penalty. Sabi namin, we don't need the death penalty. We just have to put them in supermax facilities. Tama? Tama. Session suspended. We'll ask the Thank you, dear sponsor. After discussing with our secretary, apparently there is a plan, if you can confirm this, Your Honor, Mr. Sponsor, for a 4 billion Supermax facility. So we'll figure out a way how we can do a MICA, which is a multi-year budgeting for that. We'll talk to the speaker. Kailangan dapat on-board na yung House dito sa budget na ito. So, loud and clear, at least meron tayong plano. Meron tayong plano.
We confirm that information relayed by the President of the Senate and relayed to us by the Secretary of Justice, Your Honor.
Very good. Thank you. Maraming salamat, Senator Coco, for your time. For eating into your time.
Thank you, Mr. President. No? This is very interesting subject, Mr. President, kasi we talk about justice, napaka-critical na topic. Since the General is already there, no, what's the congestion rate of Bucor, Mr. President?
Around 320%, Your Honor.
Right now po yun. But, okay, before your decongestion plan was put into effect, what was the congestion rate?
It's on 350, 360 before that, Your Honor.
So a little improvement pa. But after the end of your decongestion plan, what would be the congestion rate, anticipated or planned congestion rate, Mr. President?
Ideally, zero, Your Honor.
Hindi, pero I don't think so. Kasi tatlo lang ang choices nila would be to decongest from Muntinlupa to the 5 existing regional
170.
regional
Maybe
prisons.
After the reforms, mga 170, Your Honor.
170. Okay. Yeah, pero lumuwang nagkaroon ng 2 times more space ang ano yun, ang PDL po natin. Sige po.
Lumuwag. May mga mansyon.
You know, Mr. President, I have seen some documentaries, no? World's toughest prisons. Ganyan yan eh. At pasok tayo ron. I think they featured 1 or 2 of our prisons eh. But not because our prisoners are tough. Iba, compared sa ibang bansa, their prisoners are tough. Sa atin, ang babait nga eh. Nag-enjoy nga yung nag-film ng documentary. But he found our system strange. Na, number 1, they're not really jails or prisons in the sense na merong bars sa doors or sa nakaselda sila. And number 2, because of our system where these are run practically by the inmates. So, what is the philosophy behind our correction and rehabilitation laws, Mr. President? Ano bang nakasulat doon, Mr. President?
Well, Your Honor, I think what the concept of Bilibid is a maximum security prison. So lahat nung, I think it's reclusion temporal or reclusion perpetua, pataas, doon na talaga. Dumami ho. I think it went, the reality went beyond the idea to the point that Bilibid now has about 30,000 inmates, Your Honor. So,
as I understand it, Mr. President, 3 years and above, bilibid ka.
well,
Yeah, yes, ganun yun. 3 years
So-
and above. But
so it is overcrowded, Your Honor,
Yes,
definitely.
oo nga.
And the Secretary wishes and the department, they want to decongest it talaga para all the associated evils and of course, just the simple overcrowding is already a problem in itself, Your Honor. But as we have learned in previous investigations, there are associated evils with having so many criminals and syndicates in one place, Your Honor. So.
then, parang our system is we let the inmates run the facility, Mr. President. That was the impression of the person who made the documentary. And we see it, di ba? I mean...
Yes, that's correct.
Is that what the law states, Mr. President?
No, Your Honor, it's not what the law states, but because of the numbers, there is, in a way, the authorities are overwhelmed, which is why precisely the Secretary is doing his current actions to decongest Bilibid and populate and create greater capacity in the other existing penal institutions, Your Honor.
Sige po. After the decongestion plan of Muntinlupa, what would now be the congestion rates in the 5 regional prisons that we are sending the inmates to?
Mga 200%, Your Honor.
So that means yung design din pala nila.
But they still need to,
Yeah,
actually, they're also
they have-
inadequate as we speak, Your Honor, which is why, as you mentioned, there are current construction, yung dormitory na nabanggit po ninyo na 200 plus million. That's part of the plan to decongest, Your Honor.
Sige po, and well, at any rate, I hope the Bucor has a publication to explain their medium-term to long-term plans. Kasi nag-decongest tayo sa Muntinlupa, naging 170% congestion rate. Pinasa natin sa regional prisons, naging 200% congestion rate doon. I don't know. So, I don't know. What was there for the benefit? May benefit sa naiwan sa Muntinlupa, merong disadvantage doon naman sa regional prison, Mr. President. So, in writing na lang, Mr. Is there something written? Lahat ba ito nakaplano, Mr. President? Is there a playbook? Is there a...
They can submit, they can give you
No, right now,
details of the plan.
is there something written reflecting the plan for our prisons?
They have a 5-year development plan. They'll give you a copy, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. So siguro, Mr. President, marami pa tayong tanong dito, but accessible naman ang ating mga kaibigan sa Justice Department and Justice Family. We can at any time consult them or call for them to ask
Yes,
questions.
certainly, Your Honor. They
But-
consider you one of the reformers in the judge, so they will approach you if they need anything, certainly. And I think one of these letters here is addressed to you, yung asking for help sa mga projects
Sige,
nila.
ano po bang appeals ng ating Justice Family, Mr. President? Siguro yan, unahin natin.
The project that mentioned by the Senate President, Your Honor.
Supermax.
Opo.
Which there is already a 1 billion appropriation in the unprogrammed
Yes, Your Honor.
appropriations.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so is that enough?
No, they want 4.1 billion, Your
No,
Honor.
in one calendar year.
No, but tama si Senate President, mas maganda dyan, yung multi-year
Kaya nga.
uh, funding,
In
Your Honor.
context yung tanong ko, for the year 2024 budget pinag-uusapan natin.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have a request in connection with the Supermax in 2024, despite knowing the fact that you have already 1 billion in the unprogrammed appropriations.
Yun yung request nila actually because originally wala yun sa
Oo
unprogram.
nga. So let
Wala
me
po.
congratulate the
Opo, nilagay po
the
natin
committee.
sa unprogram. Opo.
Opo, kasi pero Mr. President, saan po linagay ng committee? Saan program nga pala? Sorry, I forgot. It's on program. Okay. And that was reported already in our last in the interpellation for the unprogram, Mr. President. So is that the only request from the Justice Family? Okay na, the committee chair took good care of you. But let me engage the Secretary with, in a little debate, Mr. President, on the confidential fund. Kasi medyo malaki-laki yata itong... How much are we giving which among the Justice Family agencies are recipients of
Ito yan.
either confidential fund or intelligence fund? Identify po natin.
Well, the DOJ itself, the OSEC, meaning the Office of the Secretary, the Witness Protection Program, Your Honor, the AYACAT, that's the... Don't keep giving me... This is the one, the anti-trafficking agency, Your Honor, but, we're here at the Committee on Finance, we're overwhelmed with acronyms and they keep giving us more acronyms, so I'm telling them they must give us the full name so we can explain it to the public, Your Honor. The Office of Cybercrime, the Bureau of Immigration, the NBI, the Office of the Solgen, Your Honor.
Yes, but yung yung mga other offices doon, these are under the Office of the Secretary, yung iba doon, Mr. President. Office of the Cybercrime, for example, that's under the Office of the Secretary.
Yes, Your Honor.
And
yes.
that's one lump sum confidential fund. Hindi po naman siguro yung pag-segregate ng amount is to justify the bottom line of the confidential fund. When it is granted, it is a lump sum, Mr. President.
Yeah, the other departments. Pero yung sinasabi niya, yung sa OSEC. It's a lump sum. You're correct, Your Honor.
Yes. That in the use, in the actual use, it could be, the amounts could be blurred, Mr. President. Pwedeng na-prioritize yung ano ba iba? What? Pakilista.
Yeah, they're just furnishing the details of the actual use, Your Honor.
The proposed use, Mr. President.
Proposed
use, yes.
Yeah.
So, in our committee report, sige, ito na lang po kasi yung issue na worth discussing in public, Mr. President. Office of the Solicitor General, 10 million confidential fund, which during the committee hearing, I think the office is willing to waive. That's what I got, Mr. President. So are we retaining this, Mr. President, or should we follow the wish of the head of the agency that he does not need confidential funds? He can live without it, Mr. President. The agency can live without it.
Well, if that's the case, then we'll welcome a motion, Your Honor.
Yes, okay. Thank you for that, Mr. President. NBI, 175.4 million. Siyempre, you're part of law enforcement. Okay, we understand. And your civilian agencies, you're only up to confidential fund, Mr. President. Bureau of Immigration, 20 million. Tama po, sir?
That's
In
correct, Your Honor.
confidential fund.
That's
Apo.
correct.
Opo. So they're also uniformed agency. Is Bureau of Immigration considered an armed agency? Your uniformed agency.
Law enforcement agency.
Law enforcement. Okay, yes, okay. Law enforcement then. No, so at most entitled to confidential fund. Tinitignan na lang naman natin dito yung reasonableness. If the agency can be justified to receive confidential fund, yung amount na lang tinitignan natin on the reasonableness. And then our committee report reflects the amount of 168 million as for confidential funds of the Office of the Secretary. Is this accurate, Mr. President?
That's correct, Your Honor. Ito yung lump sum na pinag-usapan nyo earlier, binanggit nyo earlier, broken down into the OSEC, the Witness Protection Program, the IACAT or Anti-Trafficking Program, and the Cybercrime Program, Your Honor.
Okay, susulat ba? So, I thought it was a billion pesos, Mr. President. That's why I'm raising this. Hindi. So, that's not correct. So, 168 million lang po for the Secretary. How do we justify this, Mr. Secretary? Because the joint circular, yung 2015, says that the agency can be given confidential fund if it needs to do surveillance activities in order to support its operations and mandate, Mr. President. So, can we justify this, Mr. President? Using that joint circular's concept or principle, Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor. Purchase of information is the main use of the confidential intelligence funds, Your Honor.
Because the DOJ is enforcing what kind of criminal law? What criminal law, Mr. President?
It's part of their prosecutorial function, Your Honor. They have law and order functions, identification, monitoring, recommendation of public or private enterprises controlled by foreign nationals that may pose a national security threat, the identification, monitoring, and recommendation of establishments or industries engaged in anti-competitive behavior relevant to national security or peace, uncovering, preventing, neutralizing illegal activities that pose a clear and present danger to the Secretary and other key officials. And then with respect to the Witness Protection Program, expenses related to the benefits, provisions, protection, livelihood, and counseling of witnesses per the witness protection law. And with respect to IACAT, the confidential activities including the surveillance operations in monitoring the implementation of Republic Act 9208. This is, I suppose, this is the anti-trafficking law. And with respect to the Office of Cybercrime, confidential activities relating to international mutual assistance and extradition for cybercrime and cyber-related matters in accordance with the provisions of Republic Act 10175, Your Honor.
So thank you for mentioning the Witness Protection Program. That is a program of under the DOJ. So that means it has its own budget. Am I correct in saying that the WPP budget is 319 million, Mr. President?
It's part of the OSEC budget, Your Honor.
It's not segregated in a program form, Mr. President, unlike the other agencies where
There is an item for the witness protection sub-program, Your Honor.
And is there an amount, Mr. President?
It's 241 million, Your Honor.
241.
Opo.
241 lang pala. In our committee report. Doon po sa 241, wala pong flexibility doon to pay for those expenses which need some confidentiality, Mr. President. Para saan po ba yung 241 million pesos po?
Made personal services 23 million, MOE is 190, CO is 27, Your Honor.
Doon po sa 190, wala pa po doon yung other expenses na in order to make the program a success, Mr. President?
Well, I think because of the nature of the program, it's meant to be quite secret, Your Honor. Under our laws, once you, it's just in a regular budgetary item, then you have to publicize, etc. You're even required to put it on field JEPs. So
I think
those are, maybe it's not the wisest decision to put those things or to publicize those things, Your Honor.
So what would be the MOE for the WPP? On what items do we spend the MOE? 190 yun, ano?
Yun ang nakalagay. Sa binasa ko. Yun ang nakalagay. Yeah, but his question is about MOE. You're not listening eh. What is the MOE for? Tinatanong niya. Yeah. Well, the broad mandate of the Witness Protection Program is to provide financial assistance to witnesses, allowances to their dependents, relocation, livelihood assistance of witnesses whose coverages have been terminated, medical and hospitalization expenses, bereavement assistance, and for other incidental and witness protection-related expenses relative to the needs of our covered witnesses and the hundreds of their dependents, Your Honor. This is the range of expenses for the Witness Protection Program, Your Honor.
Yes, and over the years, we have been funding this through the MOE of the WPP sub-program, Mr. President. So it can be done. It can be done that it can be, we can fund it through a line item, Mr. President.
To the extent that it's predictable. But what if you have... Yeah. There is a provision in Republic Act 6981. This is the Witness Protection, Security, and Benefit Act. Section 7 pertains to confidentiality of proceedings, Your Honor. So all proceedings involving application for admission to the program in the nation and the action taken thereon shall be confidential in nature. No information or documents given or submitted in support thereof shall be released except upon written order of the department or proper court. And then there is a provision to penalize any violation of confidentiality of proceedings, Your Honor.
So the confidential fund to be given to the OSEC, which you will use for the WPP, in effect supplements the 190 million amount already appropriated for the WPP under MOE of that
Your Honor.
sub-program.
Yes, Your Honor.
but then the 190 million in the MOE of the sub-program is audited in the regular manner by COA. Ganun
Yes,
po
Your
ba?
Honor.
So does that mean to say they cannot use that 190 million because of it divulges information, Mr. President?
Hindi ba pwedeng yung regular gamitin dun sa Yeah. They might be exposing the details of the contracts, etc., Your Honor. So maybe even yeah, addresses, vehicles, etc. They prefer to conduct this to preserve the confidentiality, Your Honor.
Pero yung, for example, let's just use the 2023 WPP sub-program MOE. Magkano kaya yan? It may be in the vicinity of the 190 siguro. May I ask, what is the MOE in the 2023 GAA of the WPP sub-program?
It's 323 million, Your Honor.
323 million. What is the status of that fund, of that item as of the moment?
Utilization. We're inquiring regarding the utilization, Your Honor. Yes, okay. Your Honor, while we're awaiting, is it all right to move to your next question?
I'll just tell you, I'll just reveal why I'm asking that, Mr. President. Ang point ko, nagagamit din naman pala eh. Yung MOE ng WPP for the expenses earlier mentioned by our sponsor, yung mga financial assistance, livelihood, burial benefits, nagagamit din naman pala.
Walang Marisa. So here, Your Honor, I've been given a document which says that for the utilization, it's 53.6% as of June 30, Your Honor. So, well, it's already November, so maybe we can ask for a more updated
Nasa 200 million na siguro by this time yan
figure.
nagamit.
Yes,
na po.
yes.
So nagagamit po. Kahit yung nature of the expenditure are supposed to be, sinasabi nyo, confidential. I mean, it can be used na. So
Meron din
therefore,
ho silang meron din ho silang confidential for that year. So they are confidential and non-confidential, Your Honor. Inahati nila
Yes,
as
but-
appropriate. They are using some for confidential and some for non-confidential, Your Honor.
so the DOJ has confidential funds for this year.
Yes, Your Honor.
May we know the level, the amount for 2023?
It's 266 million, Your Honor. 266 million, Your Honor.
So the request, so the amount that the committee gave the OSEC for confidential fund for next year is 100 million lower than this year's. Tama po?
This is from the NEP, Your Honor.
2023 GAA po. How much was the CF for the secretary?
526, Your Honor.
So the GAA of 2023 gave the Justice Secretary, the OSEC, 500 million in confidential funds, and then let's compare it to the committee report for next year,
68
million.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so nakita natin yung big drop po, pagbaba. Okay, so we have established that, bumaba. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
So thank you for that, Mr. President. So maybe for my last few topics na lang, maikli na lang po ito. We have, last few lang, if we can ask the Board of Claims to give us some assistance because we want to improve the victims' compensation system, di ba? Tama po ba yun na the amount now is for unjust, imprisonment, wrongful ano ba to? Wrongful
incarceration, unjust imprisonment or detention.
There is a maximum amount under the law. Wala tayong choice. Tama po ba yan? There's a maximum amount and that's 10,000.
It's 1,000 per month for victims of imprisonment or detention, 10,000 for victims of violent crimes, Your Honor.
Yung 1,000 per month yata, not exceeding pa a certain amount. Tama po ba? Ganun po yata yan. Can the experts help us? Sino?
Yun po yun. Those
it?
are the provisions of the law, Your Honor. Section 4 of RA 7309 sets the maximum amount of compensation as follows. 1,000 per month for imprisonment or detention, 10,000 for victims of violent crimes. But there is a pending bill, Your Honor, to increase the amounts of this compensation.
Sige po. Yes, I think we need to prioritize that, Mr. President. But siguro the implementers of the law can give us with can provide us with insights, Mr. President, and guidance on the realities on the ground, what's happening on the ground. Do we have a criminal code committee, Mr. President?
Yes, they will submit their recommendations to you.
Yes, please, help us. Kasi priority natin yan but we don't want to make a mistake o gusto natin maging realistic po yung figures. Okay. Do we have a criminal code committee, Mr. President, already existing?
Doon siya kumukuha ng material.
Criminal code committee? Do we have a criminal code committee?
Yes, I think there's one under, di ba kay Indian yun? Di ba kay Indian yung criminal code? Yes, it's under USEC-C, Your Honor.
What's the mandate of the committee and what is the status of their work, Mr. President?
They want to work with the Supreme Court in crafting a new criminal code, Your Honor. Codification, simplification.
Is it more focused on procedure or on the substance?
I think it's substantial, Your Honor.
They should work with us, Mr. President. Mayroon na ba pong draft or what is the draft? Kumusta ang draft?
Meron na. Anong stage? May draft yata sa UP Law Center, Your Honor.
Sige po, kasi di ba ang ultimate objective nito dahil masyado ng kalat-kalat yung criminal
So many
laws,
special
criminal
laws.
natin.
Yes, Your Honor.
We want to codify so that we only refer to one document, Mr. President.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So, I cannot let go of the justice sector, Mr. President, without mentioning the case of Dr. Iggy Agbayani. Is the ano yun, parole and probation administration present, Mr. President? If they could sige nga, I find this topic kasi complex, hindi ko kabisado.
I already told you.
What's the when the accused is convicted, generally speaking, because kung RPC offense yun, the convict is sentenced to an indeterminate sentence na merong minimum and the maximum period, Mr. President.
Opo.
As I understand it, when the prisoner has already served the minimum, is that prisoner entitled to apply for parole, Mr. President?
It's not a matter of right, Your Honor. It's a privilege. So
Yes.
if you have previous records, if you're a recidivist, you're not allowed to avail of those.
But that's the principle, no? That's the purpose of that minimum period, no? Okay. Does that extend to a convict sentenced to 1 month and 1 day to 1 year and 1 day? Upon reaching the minimum of 1 month and 1 day, the privilege is available to the convict?
But yes, they have to apply for parole to the
Yes,
BPP.
pwede na. Because that was the situation of Dr. Agbayani. This is what I want to point out.
But I
Mr.
think in the case of Dr. Agbayani, he chose not to avail of parole, Your Honor. He appealed his decision, and the appeal was, as mentioned yesterday, during the judiciary budget. The first appeal was affirmed. The conviction was affirmed of 2 years. The penalty of 2 years was affirmed. And on appeal to this, further appeal to the Supreme Court, the penalty was reduced to 1 year, Your Honor. Unfortunately, Dr. Agbayani died while in prison, Your Honor.
While into the fourth month of his incarceration, Mr.
Yes, Your
President.
Honor.
So, but my point, Mr. President, is PPA also computerized? Are you a beneficiary of our 5.8 billion computerization? Yes, meron po kayong 59 million doon. Apa. Okay. Which should enhance.
Yes, they're within the DOJ family, so therefore they should be a beneficiary of that.
I think in the breakdown, they are a recipient of around 59 million for their ICT project to enhance their information system. It's a policy question, Mr. President. Do you want to be just a passive agency or a proactive agency where you are computerized to the point that you can identify prisoners who could be entitled under the law to apply? Hindi naman natin sinasabing right ito but privilege. But sometimes the lack of information, even the knowledge that you can apply is already a violation of, sabihin na natin quotation marks, rights, Mr. President.
Oh, you're correct, Your Honor. They want to eventually become what you just mentioned and described very vividly, Your Honor.
And this can only happen if you are, siyempre, technologically savvy or you're assisted by technology. Does your budget reflect that desire, Mr. President?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there a long-term plan to enhance your services through the use of technology, databasing, record keeping?
Yes, Your Honor, and that is headed by Yusek Malvar. There's a plan, Your Honor.
Okay, so
ASEC.
as of the moment, is that plan in writing already? You have a written plan which you can provide my office, Mr. President?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sige po, kasi we're not touching on the merits of the case of Dr. Agbayani, siyempre, but we are sad for this turn of events, Mr. President. Doktor, kailangan masama na nga nung doctor to population ratio natin, and then ito pa po nangyari. And he's a renowned orthopedic surgeon, Mr. President. Hindi na po natin i-discuss yung merits ng case. Kasi yung complainant naman dito, Mr. President, abogado naman. Kompanyero naman natin, Mr. President. So, at any rate, Mr. President, so we try our best to improve our justice system, and the DOJ family plays a very critical role. And ulitin ko po once again, Mr. President, very approachable naman tong ating the personalities leading the justice sector, the DOJ sector, Mr. President. So, I hope, Mr. President, yung mga pendency na lang, just like yung sa judiciary, tinatanong natin yung aging, pendency ng mga, kasi may mga quasi-judicial din po sila, may mga preliminary investigation pala, may mga appeals to the secretary, so find a way to also not be the subject of the same complaints thrown against the judicial system na mabagal, natutulog ang mga kaso. So, aksyonan po natin whether yes or no, approved, denied, etc. Wag yung tulog yung kaso, pero dribble. You're not a basketball team, you're the justice team, Mr. President. So, you decide one way or the other, Mr. President. So thank you, and we wish you all the best. Good luck to the DOJ family. Thank you, Secretary, and thank you, Mr. Sponsor. And
Thank you very much, distinguished Minority Leader, for the many good ideas. But I think we really need to have reforms in our justice system. But definitely the Secretary knows what he wants to do and is aware of his limitations and resources to pursue it, Your Honor. Thank you to distinguished Minority Leader.
Before we recognize Senator Gatchalian, I have to go upstairs and we have some visitors. I'll be right back down. But after the budget is approved, Mr. Sponsor, may we request the Secretary and the NBI and maybe his key aides of the Secretary to meet us in executive session in the back. Well, the other budgets are being heard. We can just discuss certain issues of confidentiality, particularly one that will be taken up later by Senator Bato del Rosa. He's raising his hand with the permission of Senator Gatchalian. Really quick. Yes, please.
Yes, Mr. President.
Senator Bato del Rosa is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can we include in the executive session the Bureau of Immigration?
Oh, yes. If they're with us, right? The budget is
Kasama
being
mo sila.
discussed.
Isama natin doon.
Oh, please, it's about the falsified or false documents, original, authentic documents using fake personalities. I think that's the best way of
Thank you, Mr.
discussing it. So we'll have that after the budget. If it's okay with the Minority Floor Leader, yes, please. Minority Leader is recognized.
What's the plan, what's your proposal, Mr. President, that while we are deliberating on the budget of the other agencies,
Or we can pause.
we will have a, so,
We can pause
Yes.
if you want, because this is very important.
because the
You may
minority
want to
can only
there.
be in one place,
I know. I know.
one time, at one time, Mr. President. So,
Yes, because this is very, very important lang. Anyway, we won't be discussing it much because we'll be discussing localities, places where they're supposedly issuing these documents, and I don't want to put it out in public until we have a full-blown investigation. So,
Yes, Mr.
thank
President.
you, Majority Leader. Thank you, Mr. Sponsor.
President. At this juncture, may I move that we recognize the distinguished gentleman from Valenzuela City, the Vice Chairperson of the Senate Committee on Finance, who will just make a manifestation, Mr. President,
Yes,
no
sir.
other than Senator Sherwin Gatchalian.
Our dear colleague from Valenzuela, we were just there this morning administering the oath to your 500 or so SK and barangay officials. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, for gracing our occasion and being our solemnizing officer. Mr. President, I won't ask any questions. I just want to, first of all, commend the Trafficking in Persons Enforcement Group for doing an outstanding job in rescuing trafficked persons, enforcing our laws in against human trafficking, particularly USECT, who is the head of the IACAT, the Interagency Task Force Against Human Trafficking. And I bear witness to this as last Friday, Senator Risa Hontiveros conducted an inspection and a hearing in the latest raid, Pogo raid in Pasay City, wherein they rescued several women who were allegedly trafficked, drawn into prostitution, and also held against their will inside this self-contained sex den, motel, torture chamber, everything in one building, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. And I thank IACAT for being aggressive in the fight against human trafficking. On top of that, Mr. Chairman, to add insult to injury, I remember during the hearing of the DICT and the Cybercrime Investigation Coordinating Center, also, to our surprise, disclosed that the Philippines is ranked second in terms of online sexual abuse and exploitation of children. And there's also a survey that we saw in one of our readings, and this is the Scale of Harm survey by the International Justice Mission and the University of Nottingham Rights Lab estimates that 471,000 Filipino children were trafficked to produce nude child sexual exploitation material in 2022. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, we are ranked second in the whole world when it comes to online sexual abuse and exploitation of children. This is nothing to be proud of. Typically, when you rank high, you become very proud, but in this particular case, it's a damage to our reputation, definitely. And the human traffic victim just this year alone from Pogo is already counting at about 4,038 rescued victims just in 2023, Mr. Chairman. So these criminal activities, human trafficking, sexual exploitation of children is real, and it's happening in our country. And hardened criminal syndicates are operating in our country. And these criminal syndicates freely roam within our jurisdiction, Mr. President. And my fear, Mr. President, is these syndicates will transition from trafficking foreign individuals to trafficking our local kababayans, Mr. President. So with that, Mr. President, I actually suggested to our good chairman, Mr. President, to increase the budget of the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Enforcement Group. In the NEP, they were allocated 76 million. However, it was reduced in the GAB and also in the committee report by 10 million. And this representation actually suggested to increase the budget of the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Enforcement Group from 76 million to 147 million. And this is to enable them to continue their work in apprehending, in rescuing, first of all, human traffic victims, as well as investigating and as well as curbing online sexual abuse of our minors, Mr. President. So, my appeal to
At the proper time, Your Honor, at the proper time.
Yeah.
Because for this year, we increased their budget by 40 million, from 59 to 99. So at the proper time, we can do the same.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Just to
President.
shorten the discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, that's my appeal to increase it to increase their budget from 76 million to 147 million. So again, to enable them to operate and be more aggressive in their responsibilities. And I thank the good chairman for accepting some of our amendments to the budget of the DOJ and the other enforcement group, Mr. Chairman. So that's it, Mr. Chairman, and thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, gentleman from Valenzuela, Vice Chair of the committee. Definitely, we will look at these amendments because they're very well studied. They're very meritorious, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, may I just also make a short manifestation in relation to what the gentleman from Valenzuela stated a while ago, and I cannot agree more with his statement. I missed that opportunity, or I would say maybe fortunately, I missed that opportunity to visit personally these areas that Pogo syndicates are conducting, itong mga sex dens, torture chambers, etc. Mr. President, in 2019, the number of Pogo or Philippine offshore gaming operators reached a total of 63. But this has since gone down to 34. However, the incidences of Pogo-related crimes continue to rise. Also, Mr. President, in 2019, as a result of our work here in the Senate through your Committee on Labor, an interagency task force was formed to monitor the number of foreign nationals employed in Pogos, which includes the Department of Justice. Yung PAGCOR kasama din po, yung DOLE kasama po, yung SEC, Bureau of Immigration, and other agencies and various special economic zones. Mr. President, given the rise of Pogo-related crimes, we hope that this interagency task force is continuing to do its work, and we give full support. In fact, if there's a need to increase their budget, as stated a while ago by the chairman of the Finance Committee, we are in support of that. In fact, Mr. President, less than 2 weeks ago, October 27, 731 foreigners and Filipinos who are victims of human trafficking were rescued from 2 unlicensed entities, Shashen Technology Corp and Frigo Computer Gaming OPC. Both obtained, Mr. President, both obtained temporary internet gaming licenses under the business name Smart Web Technology. Mr. President, just last week, November 7, 2 Chinese nationals were arrested while 16 women were rescued from prostitution den discovered inside the POGO or the Philippine Offshore Gaming Operator Establishment in Parañaque City. Alos iba't ibang syudad na ho dito sa Metro Manila ay may mga ganito ng insidente. So, Mr. President, we are hoping that the DOJ and its attached agencies continue to be active in its work in holding violators accountable. And last but not the least, bottom line, we have been saying this, parang siramplakan na po tayo, talagang ang POGO walang matinong idudulot sa ating bayan at kailangang itigil na po ito. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa pagkakataong ito, Mr. President, the distinguished lady from Las Piñas would also make a short manifestation. May I move that she be
Our
recognized?
distinguished
as well?
colleague, Senator C.J. Villar is recognized.
I just want to ask who's in charge of the closure of the POGOs if they're doing illegal operation.
It's
No.
PAGCOR, Your Honor.
Ours was closed by, not by POPCOR, but by, I think DOJ and
Pag
there
illegal ho,
was a
pwedeng hulihin ng
POGO,
DOJ.
7 building POGO in Las Piñas which was closed recently, but it's not POPCOR. It's DOJ and the police which closed it.
That was PNP on the anti-cybercrime
So
group.
it's not DOJ. So where can I access the report on that?
PNP? Sa PNP po. Sa PNP.
PNP. So you don't know what happened there, the DOJ?
We'll ask the PNP for a report, Your Honor. Para babalik sila sa Biyernes ho. Para pagbalik niya sa Biyernes, meron ng report on that.
Parang alam ng DOJ ang story noon kasi it was closed and there was prosecution.
After the raid, the PNP sought assistance from the DOJ.
Yeah,
Your
can
Honor.
the DOJ make a report of that, what happened there? Because it's still closed now. Can I know the resource person so I can call him so I will be clarified?
Yusek Nikiti, Your Honor, is here in
Yeah,
case you want to
okay.
speak to him.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you,
Mr.
distinguished lady from Las Piñas.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, just to put on record, unfortunately, even if we say it is legal or illegal, the fact that it remains a fact, Mr. President, like in this particular case, the smart web technology, meron po silang lisensya from PAGCOR. Tapos, ginagampanan nila itong kung ano-anong illegal activities, ipinasara po sila. Pagkatapos silang ipasara, nagtayo ng bagong kumpanya, hindi na the same company na nakakuha ng lisensya sa PAGCOR, parehong mga tao pa rin, personalidad ang nasa likod. Tapos, mauulit na naman po, Ginoong Pangulo. So, nakakasalukasok, I'm sorry to say that word, a deep Tagalog, na alam na nating bawal, alam na nating puro kalokohan, alam na nating ang dami ng nangyayaring hindi natin gusto, pero still, it exists, Mr. President. Parang wala ho tayong magawa. Unfortunately, even our colleague here, Senator Grace po, delivered a privileged speech. Personal na kakilala na niya yung dinukot at kinidnap. Hindi ko alam, Mr. President, parang what are we waiting for? This is an alarming issue that I think we need to look into. Maybe the DOJ can also make a recommendation. Paulit-ulit na lang po ito. Cycle na lang. And again, no such thing as legal or illegal. Kasi yung mga nahuhuli, legal pa eh. Mayroon pang lisensya ng PAGCOR. And PAGCOR can't even do its job. They have been saying that it's part of their jurisdiction. But unfortunately, it's still a questionable jurisdiction on whether or not PAGCOR can actually issue licenses with these companies. Tapos, hindi din nila ma-regulate, hindi nila magampanan yung pagiging state regulator. So again, I go back to that question, what is really the policy of the state with regard to gambling? Are we the operator or the regulator? Because right now, we are both. So I hope, Mr. President, that this being look into and seriously being considered by the DOJ as an important issue na nakakaapekto sa ating mga kababayan. Mr. President, Senator Bato de la Rosa, may I be allowed to move that we recognize Senator Bato de la Rosa for his interpellations?
Yes, Senator Bato de la Rosa is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, Majority Leader, good sponsor. Many days ago, may nakasabay ako dyan sa Skyway na siguro mga 30 or more buses filled with mga PDLs ng Bucor. May I know, good sponsor, kung saan papunta yung mga PDLs na yun?
Sa Davao po, to be relocated, yung part of their decongestion project, Your Honor.
Okay, so sa nakita ko, napakarami nun na good sponsor. May we know if anong particular compound nang gagaling yung mga preso na yun? Maximum, medium, or minimum?
Sa maximum po ng bilibid.
So, does it mean na good sponsor na wala ng tao ang maximum ngayon? Parang naubos yun. Nakita ko, ang dami.
There are 18,000 prisoners there, Your Honor. So, meron pa po.
Meron pa.
Meron pa po.
So, kinlaro ko yan, Mr.
I think the head of the Bucor you can talk with him and get more details after.
Yes. Hinto na ako. Kasi yung aking magiging next question, Mr. President, good sponsor, is that...
You're a vice chair of this committee, Your Honor.
One of my suggestions during the Committee on Justice hearing on the case of Michael Cataruha is the construction of a separate mess hall outside the facilities in order to control knives and sharp objects being brought inside, considering that those who are preparing the food are the people inside the maximum security facility. May we know if there is any funding for this under the proposed budget for 2024? Gagawa tayo ng separate na mess hall sa labas para deliver na lang sana yung pagkain sa loob.
Wala pa ho, but they have a request actually to us to augment their budget, Your Honor.
So, anyway, good
Maybe we
sponsor.
can discuss that
Yes.
in the period of amendments, Your Honor.
Yes, in the proper time, I will move for supporting this program. And next, good sponsor about NBI at saka BI.
Yes, Your Honor.
During the committee hearing of the budget of DOJ, we learned that merong around 10 foreigners na nabigyan ng authentic passport. Ang sabi ng Bureau of Immigration, na-intercept nila ito. And this caused alarm dahil nga national security is involved pagdating sa issue na ito. And the other night's plenary hearing of the budget of DFA, we asked them also about that issue. And they told us that the investigation was already being conducted by NBI. So, without discussing any further details, Your Honor, good sponsor, may we know if meron ng progress yung investigation na ginagawa ng NBI?
It's ongoing, Your Honor. They'll submit it once it's finished, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yun ang natanong din ni Senator Bina yon earlier.
Anyway, magkakaroon man tayo ng executive session later.
Yes, I think
maghingi tayo ng update.
I don't want to reveal what the topic is, but I think maring kasakop na ho ito.
Yes, just a reminder from the Senate President that he would like to request the Secretary, Immigration, and the others, no, to remain after the session, Your Honor.
Thank you, good sponsor. Yun lang.
Thank you.
Okay
Thank
lang
you.
sa'yo kung yun lang
Thank you,
question
Vice Chair Senator Bato de la Rosa. Thank you.
Thank you, good sponsor, Mr. President. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, Senator Grace Poe would also like to make a short manifestation. May I move that she be recognized, Mr. President?
Senator Grace Poe is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to say that, of course, I appreciate and I support the DOJ in their efforts, particularly all of the operations that they've done. I know it's very difficult to coordinate also with other agencies, but I would also like to manifest as well that, as our majority leader has pointed out, the POGO situation has really worsened in the past how many years? And even if some of them are licensed and legal, there are still others that are operating under very shady, at the very least, conditions. So I think the committee of Senator Gatchalian, and I would like to thank him, has already come up with a committee report phasing out POGOs with a sunset clause, giving them, I don't know now as it stands, I think 2 years. So I would just like to ask the position of the DOJ, because you are actually in the center of the storm, having to process their cases and then maybe deport others under immigration. What is your position on having POGOs, weighing the social impact and the so-called economic benefits? Are you for the total banning of POGOs at this point?
The DOJ just enforces whatever policy the national government has, Your Honor. I think it's PAGCOR who sets down the policy as to the legalization of POGO. So the DOJ has already been raiding, investigating the illegal POGOs, those without licenses from PAGCOR, Your Honor.
So the POGOs prohibited from giving a personal, and well, not a personal, but department statement on the matter.
Yes, Your Honor. They follow whatever the national government's policy is.
Okay, then I guess we have to fast track here in our chamber. But one last question. I remember somebody from the DOJ, I think the Secretary himself mentioned that when we apprehend or when we rescue certain foreign nationals involved in legal or illegal POGO operations, and the deportation process is a little tedious, because is it true that some of these countries where they're from are not open to getting them back?
That's true, Your Honor.
So what do we do with them?
Well, we have to wait until the foreign country is ready to receive them, Your Honor. Then we have to. We discussed this extensively during the committee hearings, Your Honor.
But in the meantime, they're housed.
They're housed, yeah. We at our expense, Your Honor.
Well, that's all. I know that our chairman of the Committee on Finance has been working really hard, but I just had to make a stand also on the issue because we've
thank you.
been studying this for the longest time.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice
Mr.
Chair
President.
Senator Grace Poe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last but not the least, to make a short manifestation, is the gentleman from Isabela and Davao, no other than Senator Raffy Tulfo. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator Raffy Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Sponsor, bago sa aking manifestation of support, kanina gusto ko lang dagdagan yung nabanggit ni Senator Bato de la Rosa, because I myself noticed it many times na foreigner, matanda na, hindi marunong magtagalog, kung meron man, bulol at kukunti lang, and yet Filipino citizen. How did it happen? Maraming beses na po akong nainkwentong ganon ng mga foreign nationals na totally hindi marunong magtagalog. Kung meron man, parang oo, hindi lang. And then, pag tinanong mo, bakit ka naging Filipino citizen? Dito ako pinanganak. Ang susi po dyan, Mr. Sponsor, ay yung late registration. Dapat pag-aralan na mabuti yan. Kung yan ba'y papayagan pa o hindi na. Nag-usap lang kami kanina ni Minority Leader Senator Coco Pimentel. Sabi niya, we have to plan, we have to come up with some kind of legislation siguro
para masilip itong late registration dahil dito nagkakaroon ng problema po Mr. President. Kailangan ng dalawang witness. Pag halimbawa yung isang bata pinanganak, all it needs is 2 witnesses. And then, ipapalate register. Matandaan na yung tao. So, paano natin mapatigil itong tinatawag na late registration? Dahil dito po nagkakaroon ng problema. I-register sa PSA. Hindi naman talaga total masisisi rito yung DFA kung tutusin, saka yung immigration because ministerial lamang sila. Doon po talaga ang problema sa PSA. Yan po ay aking konting karagdagan lamang na opinion base po doon sa nabanggit na ni Senator Bato de la Rosa. Anyway, good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon to the honorable sponsor of the budget of the Department of Justice, Senator Sani Angara, colleagues, and the officials of the DOJ and its attached agencies. Yesterday, I manifested my support for the budget of the judiciary because of its critical role in delivering justice and establishing the rule of law. Ang batas po na ginagawa natin dito sa Senado ay walang saysay kung hindi ito patutupad ng ibang sangay ng gobyerno. And the work of the judiciary goes hand in hand with the work of the Department of Justice and its attached agencies. The full justice system entails a strong and independent judiciary and a capable Department of Justice. This year, we have seen a spike in crimes that are to be addressed by the DOJ and its attached agencies. We have drug cases, assassinations of public officials, human trafficking of Filipino going abroad, human trafficking of foreigners brought here in POGO facilities, online scams, missing persons, and detention facility incidents. The list goes on and on. And each of these must be addressed and must not be swept under the rug. The sense of safety and security of the people depend on their confidence on our justice system. Ito bang mga masasamang loob ay kayang hanapin at mahuli? At kapag nahuli sila, may sapat bang ebidensya upang maisampang kaso at maparusahan sila ng korte? At kapag itong mga salarin ay nakulong, sila ba ay nakatakas? It takes all the agencies of the DOJ to fully operate an effective justice system. Now, let me go to some particular concerns that I hope we could address by means of reviewing the proposed budget for the DOJ. First, I support the budget of the NBI because I've seen how helpful they are in pinning down criminals and providing sufficient evidence for our prosecutors to actually bring the cases to court. The NBI is able to trace scamming hubs, human trafficking houses, and child pornography operations. These big-time criminals are really skilled in covering up their tracks, and we have to arm our NBI agents with tools to pin these people down. Although the budget of the NBI already increased in the General Appropriations Bill, or GAB, I noticed that we have failed to properly fund the request of the NBI for the training of new agents, Mr. President. It appears that only 8 million pesos was granted out of the 290 million pesos requested by the NBI for the expenses for the training of new NBI agents. Mr. President, data shows that there are only less than 500 NBI agents working approximately 47,000 cases nationwide. And despite this limited manpower, the NBI has delivered countless of times for the people, whether it is through leads in apprehension of criminals or to the resolution of crimes. We expected so much from the NBI, and they have to deliver. And yet, when it comes to their budget, it seems that they cannot expect much from us. As the premier investigative agency of our country, we must ensure that the NBI is given the appropriate budget so that they can properly and efficiently exercise their mandate. I hope that we will not fail them on this aspect. At the proper time, Mr. President, I will make the appropriate manifestation to ensure that the full 290 million pesos for the training of new agents will be granted to the NBI. I'm also concerned about the rise in financial scammers that take the hard-earned money for people. Working hand in hand with the cybercrime investigation and Coordinating Center or CICC. I implore upon the NBI to put stop to these operations. Masakit po sa akin tuwing lumalapit po sa ang mga kababayan natin na hindi naman ganoong kalaki ang kinikita at hirap na hirap mag-ipon para sa kanilang pamilya, tapos sa isang iglap, mawawala lahat. These people who prey on the weak must be put behind bars. Second, I would like to support the increase in the budget of the Bureau of Corrections. While the bill that I filed providing for CCTVs in detention facilities have yet to be passed, I believe it could already be implemented because we have seen how the security in our detention facilities is problematic. One, the smuggling of goods and dangerous drugs in and out of jails and prisons is prevalent. This is a source of corruption, and more crimes end up happening inside the detention facilities. Two, there are stories of inmates leaving and escaping the jails who are used to commit crimes outside. Three, there are cases of abuse and rape in detention facilities committed by officials and co-inmates. And four, there are the constant riots that happens in our jails. Our detention facilities are intended to rehabilitate our criminals. Instead, it becomes a breeding ground for more crimes, where mild law offenders end up being hardened criminals. There must be a reliable CCTV system in all common areas and all entry and exit points of our detention facilities. Isama na din po natin ang mga detention facility sa NBI. Also, I would like to raise a concern regarding the budget of the personnel in our detention facilities. The lack of people we have handling such a big population of convicted criminals weaken the supervision and control they have over the facility. The Commission on Audit, or COA, has warned the Bureau of Corrections is severely undermanned to properly perform its mandate with a ratio of 1 custodial personnel against 12 to 20 prisoners, a far cry from the ideal ratio of 1:7, as provided under RA number 10575 or the Bureau of Corrections Act of 2013. The Bucor is forced to operate on a 1:95 to 1:279. Again, the Bucor is forced to operate on a 1:95 to 1:279 information personnel to inmate ratio when the recommended balance is 1:24. And finally, as I mentioned already before, I hope that we could look into the meal budget of our detention facilities. The 70 pesos per day budget for their food is inhumane. Hindi naman po makatao yun that we expect them to be nourished by 70 pesos. This small budget for food has forced them to find ways to feed themselves. It leads to corruption. May mga black market po sila doon ng pagkain. May lagay dito, may lagay doon, para makapagpasok ng mga grocery items na binibenta din sa mga kapwa preso. We have to remove this practice, Mr. President. Again, Mr. President, I am behind the Department of Justice as an institution of the people, and I will continue to support all their programs in delivering justice to all. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, gentlemen from Sabela and Ilocos. And at the proper time, we can work with him on his proposed augmentations. We'll be happy to do that, Mr. President, Your Honor. But just for the record, in 2020, this committee increased the budget of the NBI by 72.7 million. In 2021, we increased it by 354.39 million. In 2022, we increased it by 356.6 million. And in 2023, we increased it by 650 million. Just for the record, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the distinguished sponsor. Mr. President, there being no other reservation and for interpellation, I move that we close the period of interpellations and debate and consider the budget of the Department of Justice, Office of the Secretary, Bureau of Corrections, Bureau of Immigration, Land Registration Authority, National Bureau of Investigation, Office of the Government Corporate Counsel, Parole and Probation Administration, Presidential Commission on Good Government, and Office for Alternative Dispute Resolution be deemed submitted for the body's consideration. I so move, Mr. President.
There is a motion by the Majority Leader to close the period of interpellation and consider submitted the budget of the Department of Justice and its attached agencies. Is there any objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I ask for a minute suspension?
Session suspended.